Myth. Myth. Mozart did not write his own death music. I repeat, Mozart did not write his own requiem. Get that shit out of here. Just no, no. Like seriously, like he did not write his own requiem. Yo, new Mozart has just dropped. Well, in the last couple weeks or so. Y'all heard this? A string trio for two violins and bass was discovered at a library in Leipzig, Germany. If you think fandoms of Taylor Swift or the Beatles are extra, you have not met Mozart nerds. They are on a whole new level. Um, whole new level of obsessed. I'm sure they have their own group name, or somebody else made a name for them mockingly. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised otherwise. And because of that, nearly everything has been written about Mozart except for this newly discovered trio. But in other words, you'll have a bad time focusing on Mozart for a doctoral dissertation. How about that? Um, I accidentally got a little head start of my foundation here, and I'm actually it's part of my panning series, but it's a Bye Bye foundation by It Cosmetics in light medium, and also just so happens I'm using the same brush as well. No, excuse me, I should have coughed away from the mic. And it's the random one that they do. I think for holiday, but not really. But I know there's a blue, kind of a tealy one that just came out. I think I want it. I don't need it. I want it. It's pretty. That's all. That's all I can say. Speaking of which, there's actually a lot of pretty things that they've been dropping lately, and I just want, but I don't need. I don't need. No, I don't need. Say I don't need them.
Hey?
Say I don't need them.
Well,
You motherfucker,
I
shut up.
won't stop you. You're an unrelenting force.
But does the unrelenting force have the extra force for self control? If me waving the brush as I'm talking gets annoying, please someone put it in the chat. Anyway, going on. The International Mozarteum Foundation, located in Salzburg, announced in a press release about the most recent edition of the Colourpop catalog, which includes a new edition of the trio, and which supposedly was unknown. And originally, I was not anticipating to do Mozart as one of my first composers really to kind of focus about. Oh yeah, because I'm a musicologist, or musicologist junior, if you want to get that technical, because I don't have a doctorate, I just have my master's. But I'm like have my foot right there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I've held 18th century manuscripts in my hands. Like some of them were like bug eaten too. It was so fucking cool. But like yeah, I had my Indiana Jones moment. So uh yeah, it's really cool. Like that's why I kind of want to go back into it so I can kind of get my Laura Croft um a vibe and everything and really feel it, live that fantasy. But yeah, no, it's really fun, especially when exactly what I like from filming when shit like this happens. Where like, oh hey, look, new Mozart, or hey, look, new Beethoven. Shit like that happens all the time. Several works that were discovered during their research for the new crucial edition. However, those works were known to exist already. Such works being mentioned in letters, diaries, and financial related documents. The catalog has sections for fragments, lost, or questionable pieces too. Quick clarification, the trio that was discovered is not the original manuscript of Mozart. It's a copy attributed to him. This copy was found inside the Leipzig Municipal Library. There we go. And sorry if I sound a little scripted right now. I'm just I'm kind of loosely basing off a script here, but I'm just gonna like add things here and there. But it's just like because I have a lot of shit that I'm just trying to organize. Because there's a lot of shit on Mozart, and fuck, it's really hard to condense that to make sure I'm not doing like an hour video or something. Cause yeah, as I said earlier, I'm just gonna be like, he was first, he did this, and then the fucker died. That's the main thing is I'm covering. I could do a more in-depth Mozart series, but fuck, that would take forever. That would take forever. Musicologists have to be careful with copies, and that's what makes the field tricky since you have to closely analyze patterns and techniques in the music. If I'm understanding the press release correctly, it seems that the Serenading C, the trio, was mentioned in Narnell's notebook, who was Mozart's older sister. I personally don't think there's enough evidence to say that it was written for his sister, but that's just me. I didn't see much on it, but that's from a quick general search, right? So now here, like you can kind of see me how I operate, right? Like, um, I actually I at the same I'm not gonna go out of my way to learn German, especially 18th century German, to look in between the letters of this correspondence with him and his sister or diaries and whatnot. It might have been mentioned in the diary, but I'm not gonna go that far. I'm sure it's out there. But again, it just seems kind of a stretchy, and that's kind of musicology that you kind of also have to be careful, because people will write some stuff. Yeah, like I said earlier, I don't know enough German or any at all. I just know some German diction. That's it. And to comb over her letters and diaries, that'd be cool. But I'm not gonna lie, that's that's too much. That's a year's work for. I know Japanese, and not even that well. Anyway, it just seems like a lot of work to answer that, and not right now. At least for me at the moment. Hey, I'm being honest. I'm very curious how they were able to date the piece towards the end of the 1960s, and that's when he was around 13 years of age. According to the Smithsonian magazine, the head of the foundation, of the Mozart Foundation, Ulrich Leisinger, announced that Mozart wasn't writing in the style or characteristics found in the trio compared to later works as he wrote as a teenager. And that I can kind of understand in a way. The youngest piece of Mozart I've played is his first violin concerto, and that's when he was 19 when he wrote it. I've also played excerpts of his later symphonies, a couple of string quartets, and oh yeah, even an aria from one of his operas. And yeah, he likes to try new things his own way. That's kind of how he operates. Additionally, Mozart also, believe it was in the same article. All my sources are going to be in the description box once all of this is published and everything. Um, um, Additionally, Mozart started to use his A initial by 1769. You know, the Amadeus or Amadeo. I've seen it as Amadeo. I think Amadeo or Amadeo might be the first ones, because you know the 18th century, like if you want to make yourself out of anything, you just make one of your names in Latin, and that's supposed to be cool. It was like the 18th century LIL. I fucking swear. Anyway, um, since the trio lacked the initial, that explains the consensus of the trio being an earlier work of his. The Smithsonian link, like I said, it's going to be in the links in the box in description box below. I think I'm good with foundation. I'm used to most of up. Yeah, my skin's not very happy with me at the moment, but also I've been sick. There we go. Because a good number of composer catalogs were created by Germans, it's almost a stereotype of German musicologists at this point. Thus, the crucial Verzeichnis, Whoever's German, please correct me below, please. I'm trying. I'm trying really hard. Oh yeah, thus the Kirchhoff-Verzeichnis, which was compiled by Ludwig Ritter von Kirchhoff in 1862. How's my German? In my opinion, excuse me, in my opinion, and for efficiency, thematic catalogs is where it's at. A reason being is that thematic catalog separates vocal, chamber, and symphonies and so forth and other works, right? Compare sometimes they will put them in chronological order within the thematic catalogs, but it's so much easier to kind of like guide through it when it's just in its genre. Um, that's just my preference. Now, how can thematic catalogs become problematic? Ultimately, it's the dependency in time. Let me explain. Here's my brush again. The Kershaw catalog fit the time the best it could when it came out. It's fine. Don't come at me, music nerds, please. Right? And I'm calling you music nerds because I am one too, right? So, like, and because of the gatekeeping and shit, don't come at me. This is just my opinion. Anyway, the dependency comes when people strictly associate a KV number or K number to a specific piece. When we don't allow flexibility, that's when we end up with K5A and K5B, and that's from the 6th edition, which those are now K9A and K9B with the 9th edition. That's now. Per the press release, the 9th edition has gone back to the original 1st edition numbering, which is really confusing, right? Actually, that's on. You thank you Wikipedia for already updating that. It kind of shows them side by side, which is actually kind of nice. Yeah. So let me repeat that again. Just so that like it kind of like really simmers in there. When we don't allow flexibility, that's when we end up with K5A, K5B, and so forth. And per the press release, the 9th edition has gone back to the original 1st edition numbering, so the one that Kershaw himself set up. Y'all keeping up with this? I'm barely keeping up with this. Preferably, the sub-lettering is really annoying when new works come up, just like the trio. Speaking of the trio, it's in the catalog as K648. I'm fine with that. I see no fuss. With that all being said, I wish I was a fly in that wall during the recent Mozart conference. I would just like kind of put it on Facebook, at least on my personal one, that I would give anything to be there. Can you imagine? Can you imagine all the limbs and the eyes lost during those arguments? Ooh, ooh, ooh. I just imagine a bloodbath. The fact that they like flip flopped. I'm just like, I just might be me that shook. I don't know. Just be me. But anyway, I just all I know, all I can say, from how I know musicologists and from what I've read, from how I read things too, and how opinionated our asses are a lot of times. Can I get an invite to the next one? See how everybody keeps up with everything. But no, I think that given the number that it is totally fine. I'm glad they figured it out. How about that? I would have eye rolled so hard if the trio was labeled like 73J or 80B or some shit. If you'd like to check out the performance of the trio, I'll have the link in the description box as well. Now that we're in the deep Mozart conversation, here's a little mini bio moment. I swear, these Mozart stands are going to come for me. I already feel it. Please don't. I want to make it this, like, really chill space and educational space. I'm obviously making it obvious when things are my opinions, right? But also, like, the facts, there's are facts too. Okay? Okay? Don't skin me alive, please. Winter's coming. It's gonna be cold. I'm gonna need everything I got. And then, yeah, the rest is just my commentary. That's all. That's all. And I kind of want to engage with everybody else. Like, what are you guys all thinking? Respectfully, of course. Um, now, in my opinion, Mozart is the definition of 18th century Nepo baby. Plus, the whole child star story is nothing. It's nothing new. Um, it almost seems it's older than time. Really, really. Um, oh, if anybody's curious, the products that I just used, got the Tarte Shape Tape, and I think in 20S. Yeah. And also using the Anastasia setting powder, translucent. Yeah, literally like child star like story at its finest. The more I kept reading about him, it just so happens like a Demi Lovato documentary about child actors like also came out recently too. So it's like the mishmash of like things and how things align. Anyway, it just really stuck out. Obviously, at least to me, it did. Um, Mozart or Wolfgang, he was born on January 17th of 1759 in Salzburg, Germany. There were other music families as such as the other famous ones on the box, but the Mozarts made a different impact, at least in my opinion. Well, yes, Wolfgang was talented and is known that he wrote his first symphony around age 8. But people forget that his works were heavily edited by his father. The father, Leopold Mozart, was widely known as a violinist. He was actually a violinist for the Archbishop of Salzburg. And later he became the deputy Kapellmeister in 1763. At the time, you wanted a similar position, either a large church or a noble's court, since it was a gig that paid you regularly. Even back then, without connections in music, good luck making money. Leopold had two children that survived infancy, Wolfgang Amadeo and Anna Maria, commonly known as Nerdl, and I hope I'm saying that right. His older sister began keyboard studies at age 7, while Wolfgang started at age 4. Also, from what I read, and I will put it down there in as my sources. Um, his sister started first, and Wolfgang, so they're about 3 years apart, just kind of like kept watching and be like, just was like really fascinated by it. That he just kind of got genuine interest on his own, and it's also no, this is just kind of general knowledge from what I know. Aristocratic families in Europe, or those who are like kind of mid upper class, it was very common to put like your daughter or in like music studies because it was part of like kind of their roundedness in education. And now I can't remember where I heard this, but it's to like because the piano, the clavier was seen as like a domestic or like a household instrument, and that's why you wanted like a potential wife to learn it, supposedly. I don't know where I heard that, but I know I heard that somewhere. Well, anywho, um, but yeah, so that's what I heard. That he just, like he got curious, and his dad was like, "Okay, let's go." According to Mozart researchers, Wolfgang began with minuets and other pieces for the clavier, which he mastered rather quickly, given his young age. Based on an article by Peter Kiwi, okay, I hope I'm saying that correctly. His father transcribed pieces as Wolfgang would just blink around the keyboard. I mean, if I had a child that picked up music that quick, I just might exploit that myself. Sorry, not sorry. But I mean, if they enjoy it, I mean, like, why the fuck not, right? And they can just earn their own money and just like let it be a trust fund and shit. But that's just me kind of making it seem fair for the fucking kid. But anyway, that's just me. Um, Luckily for the family, Wolfgang enjoyed the craft. There's an argument that Leopold let go of his own advancement in order to solely focus on the training for Mozart. Even that right there really seems like a stretch for me. And and this is why. Where is my control panel? What is my oh, it's right here. Yeah, this is why. This is why I think that particular thing is a stretch. This is something I knew that I learned too. Only because, and to my surprise, Leopold did not complete his education at the University of Salzburg. In fact, he was expelled in his second year due to the lack of attendance in natural sciences, which was around 1729. Additionally, he was well in his 30s when he had Maria Anna. I may have flipped them both earlier if I did, sorry. And Wolfgang already published a violin treatise in 1756. A treatise in music is essentially like a detailed instruction book on how to do certain techniques that fit the current music aesthetic of the time. Um, Kind of like today's method book, really, because method books didn't really exist besides like etude books, and yeah, just the pedagogy evolved as time, obviously. Um, and because of that, published work was what kept the Mozarts afloat. I'm using a really old palette. Again, this is part of my Project Pan. This is a Shade and Light by Kat 1D. 1762 was a big year for the Mozart family. January of that year, Wolfgang and Maria Anna performed for the Bavarian Elector in Munich. Most notable performance actually was when they performed for the Empress Maria Theresa in October of that same year. Wolfgang, now 6 years old, finds himself on the lap of the Empress and kisses her. So that's like kind of the famous story that like a lot of people know. Like he's like, yeah, they're on tour. He goes, does his thing. Everybody's like, oh my god, that's so good. And he just goes nonchalantly, and he just gets on the Empress's lap and be like, hey, yeah, hi, I'm Mozart. You know, little cheeky kid, right? So at least that's what the story, how the story goes of that performance. But one of the articles, I think, was in the Kiwi article, was in the Solomon one. Can't remember. But one of them mentioned that despite the fact that they performed for the Empress quite a bit, this is a little side tangent from one of the articles that I read. That yeah, apparently she's just living. I think if I may have already known that from years past. Um, But yeah, she never really promoted his music, which was odd, but she enjoyed the dude. Probably because of that incident, being like, I should probably keep my eye on that little guy. From 1762 to 1773, the family toured all over Europe to places such as England, Holland, France, and Italy. I will another side tangent, but I do have it written here. I would love to make a dedicated video on Nurnal, since she was just as an accomplished musician and composer herself. Once she married off, and during that society, it wasn't in her place to continue such endeavors. Um, ugh, oh, I hate that. I hate that so much. Which is the reason why you just don't hear like the giant maestros. Like, sure, you will hear like female singers, like the great mezzos and the great sopranos, but like instrumentalists, unless they were piano players, hardly ever. Clara Schumann would be another good video. Anyway, from 1769 and on, it was just father and son who continued their tours. The tours in Italy made the strongest impression on the young boy. He studied counterpoint with Padre Martini de Bologna, and he was also exposed to the Italian styles of chamber music and symphonies. How did okay, so like now we're really moving fast forward. So that was like his childhood, right? So how did Wolfgang earn his rock star archetype? We've all heard it. We all know. Like he gets painted to be such a bad boy. Um, Now, here's here's why. He wanted to get out of Salzburg, and it took him a while. Um, yeah, like yeah. Let me explain on. It's getting there. We're getting there. We're getting there. Even today, certain music jobs are hard to come by. How does that all relate? Well, Wolfgang, by age 16, already had a great success abroad with the opera scene and was appointed concertmeister at the Salzburg church with who he was working under his father, right? Under the count, and was not the count. He was technically a prince. Anyway, at the Salzburg court in 1772. This is a time he actually held a paid position, and he paid 150 gulden. I have not been able to find information on whether that salary is livable or not. I can only speculate that it was modest. A yearly salary at 150 gulden for being 16, that's not bad, especially being music of all things. Um, and he was actually playing violin. He was a concertmeister on violin, which is really cool. I mean, no surprise since his father was played violin too. He was not fond. Now here's where things get a little sour. He was not fond of working under the Archbishop of Salzburg, Colorado, let alone the helicoptering from his own father. What a typical rebel story. The letters between Wolfgang and his father, Leopold, stressed that he, Wolfgang, isn't mature or responsible enough to travel on his own in order to find opportunities. Leopold was completely against Wolfgang going full freelance, probably due to his own personal experience. That's just my opinion. Um, but do I blame him? No. Why would anybody give up a stable income with potential of career advancement? That was the musician pipeline. Write music for the church, get paid, or write music for the court, whoever like you were employed by, then earn some more based on like private commissions and get more cash on the side. Teach, right? That was how like a musician survived at that time. So now here's a little side thing because the nature of that, I don't know how I feel on how my field really hasn't changed much in terms of wages. I really don't. I don't know how to feel about that at all. Like, yeah, it doesn't even show me like job security. At least like, in the way it exists, sort of. There'll always be a fucker wanting to pay for it, but Dan's gonna be difficult to find. Well, Mozart also understood this to a certain extent, since he managed to stay until he got appointed as cathedral organist in 1779 with a salary of 450 gulden. That's not too shabby. That should be straight up right in middle class, I will believe. I think. No, I seriously tried. I tried to look up to see what was like average income for like a middle class family in Salzburg in the 18th century, and yeah, nothing really much came up. I found plenty about modern day, but that's not gonna help me at all, is it? Uh, just putting a little highlighter, and this is the another one that I'm trying to pan, the Anastasia Starlight Illuminator, old as hell. Do 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 do. Wolfgang is getting into his mid 20s by this point, and now has a future to think about, like continuing a legacy, right? One thing I will give Wolfgang credit is the confidence in himself. He believed in himself and wanted more. I totally get that. I kind of the same in my own way, but anyway, I totally get it. And of course he did. Especially being exposed to like what he was exposed to at such a young age. Um, he had been under the thumbs of both his father and the archbishop. Like, it's like a rebel in the making. Also, it didn't help that the archbishop kept denying the leave request for Mozart to seek employment elsewhere. I mean, that's so dumb, but to, it's dumb on both ends. It's dumb for Mozart to even consider doing it, and it's dumb on Colorado to be like, hey, I can just probably find somebody else. But that was the other trick too. Like, no, this is just my own analysis. Is that maybe he just refused to let him go because he knew he was hot shit, and kind of Mozart kept proving that that's what he was, or at least that's kind of the vibe he kind of gave out. So overall, Wolfgang felt restricted on the boring taste of the archbishop and the daily duties that came with court life. There's correspondence to that. I wish I looked at it more closely, but he was just like, um, because he was in Italy quite a bit, and Italy at the time was kind of the hotbed of like new things to kind of experiment and whatnot, and he just got fully immersed and saw the possibilities, and of course going to like it's Catholic Salzburg because it's Austria. I believe most of Austria is Catholic, and they're like, that's too much, right? And yeah, like he was such a little punk, and again that's where he kind of gets like that pushback rock star stereotype. Um, the trip ended up being fruitless when he finally was granted leave in 1778 for Paris. Later, in 1780, he received a commission to write an opera seria in Munich. In 1781, also granted to be a year for him. He officially dipped from the service of the archbishop, and not in a good note. Um, Originally, Wolfgang had leave for 6 weeks that turned into a few months. The archbishop refused to accept Wolfgang's resignation letter and ongoing release request. When the archbishop was in Vienna, he actually called for Mozart to meet him up there. Obviously, he obeyed, but he clearly didn't want to. The drama eventually concludes. Here's the kicker. Eventually concludes when Count Karl Joseph Felix Arco, the steward of the archbishop, finally dismissed Wolfgang via a kick on the behind. As colorful as Mozart's correspondence were, like his music, who knows if his ass actually got kicked and thrown out like that. That same year, he moved to Vienna and married Constance Weber. Right? So, there was so much drama, and I wanted to read more when I was researching it. Because he was actually, I believe he was writing to his father, and like on what he did, I was like, well, oh, he sounded so like salty too. I was like, well, it looks like I don't have to go and answer to anybody, but I guess that's what you get, and you get a swift kick in the rear, or some paraphrasing something like that. But it was like it was spicy. Like there was, from what I've heard. No, again, I don't know any German, but I remember when I was in class, his his writing was apparently with some of his cousins, and I, if I remember this correctly, dick jokes can even be traced. Well, at least 18th century dick jokes exist. I don't think I'm gonna put that in the actual video, but I'm just gonna put it there because my brain's like, remember that one time in class? Um, So yeah, so actually that's a quick little break to introduce what I'm going to do with my eyes. And since the next video that I plan to pre-film, hopefully later today, I'm actually kind of going to like the post review hype of this guy, the peach palette of Too Faced. So that's what I'm be using on my eyes today. Now I'm getting actually towards the end here, so I should probably get my makeup done really quick. But yeah, it's that is like good chunk of his life was spent in Salzburg, although he's permanent residence wise, and because he collided so much with the archbishop, especially his father, and everything, it just it kind of bred Mozart, or molded Mozart to what he was, to like kind of what we know him as. Which one should I start today? I kind of want more of like a sultrier type of look. Maybe I'll do it with this one. It says, Charmed, I'm sure. Using that for more of the crease. Was it in the Solomon article or book or whatever I was reading? Was it in that one? Or was it in the one that kind of has its letters? Well, at least translated. I don't remember which one it was. Um, where was it going with this? The letters, the so yeah, in the Solomon article, and I think was it was in there. I forgot his first name. Um, and I remember, and I'm kind of glad my professor at the time pointed out, he doesn't. He kind of takes like a psychological approach to some of the composers because he also wrote a book about Beethoven. That's how I know the guy, or read of the guy. I always know about the guy. Um, and even some of the things he said about Beethoven, and we're like yeah, but like, do we have evidence of that though? That's where like the musicologist just comes out, and then that's where things get like really really tricky. I'm gonna use this purple. I'm gonna use this purple enough. Um, so according to him, at least how he kind of like profiles these guys, um, it could like uh, oh, one thing that I kind of also forgot to mention too is that Mozart's mother passed away during the trip, during his trip to France, and when he got that leave requested. Yeah, on 78. So, like, right around towards the end of that trip or around that trip time, that's when his mother passed away. And apparently, Solomon suspected that he was just a bit, Leopold was a bit more, I don't want to say controlling, but just want to be closer with his family, or just, yeah, I guess controlling would be the word for it. Or just kind of had attachment issues because he just lost his wife and whatnot. I don't know. Like, again, until unless he wrote about it in a diary, sure that he expressed such feelings, but like, I don't know. Like, you just have to take when you read as a musicology aspect of that. You just kind of have to take it lightly, unless it was actually written somewhere that he felt such. Who knows? He may have. And again, I'm gonna go through the whole course to read German to find that out. And apparently, one thing that was kind of surprising to me was that Nurno married a little later. And not like significantly later. Apparently, she was like in her 30s or something. I need to like quick check that. I was like, if you're she really married when she was that much. And I'm gonna say that's older. I mean, it's older for the time, but apparently that also kind of kept Leopold on edge for some reason. Ugh, my daughter's not marrying. How terrible, so awful. But no, I think Nick Nurnal has like a really, really, really like awesome story, and I would love to kind of like dive more into because like yeah, like I don't know much about her myself, and in a lot of music history books, like both on the undergrad, it's just like a little blip. She's like, ah, she existed. Yeah, she did play. Of course, she played. Um, and yeah, she like even made works herself. And this is what Bellini looks like. Oh, for those who would be interested, so far I've used that guy right there and the purple shade right underneath, and I'm gonna go with Bellini, which I believe is this guy. Oh, it's gonna be fun talking about this palette as like a little history review on its own, because that look did have its own break the internet moment. So how did Mozart die? Myth, myth, myth. Mozart did not write his own death music. I repeat, Mozart did not write his own requiem. Get that shit out of here. Just no, no. Like seriously, like he did not write his own requiem. It's such a myth that people want to like think about. Now, I can't remember where I read this. Like, yeah, there was times like he was really depressed and whatnot, and like he was suffering with other shit too. Like who wasn't at the time? Like his health wasn't like, well, towards the end, like it kind of, you will see, you will see. And he did not write his own death music. Okay, we're done. Thank you. Moving on. Also, the Requiem was commissioned by Count Franz Walsev Stupak. He knew his health was so with Mozart, he knew his health was declining. Um, but hey, he still had bills to pay. While accepting the Requiem from this count, he was also working on La Clemenza de Tito and the Zauberflöte, which is commonly known as the magic flute. That is not as purple I was expecting it to be. Was it just me? Or is it because it's so old? I don't know. They all look black. Whatever. The nature of his illness did not allow him to complete the Requiem, as a matter of fact. Oh yeah, it's time for eyeliner. Oh, I'm gonna use some black eyeliner. His wife Constance reached out to two of his pupils to complete the work, and those included Joseph Eylur and Franz A. Sussmayer. These German names, man. I like this one, no. And apparently, like his symptoms, like were like really, really crazy. I just had the idea, at least mainly from like that scene in the movie Amadeus. Uh, was it like a stormy night or some shit? And he's just like sweaty and a high fever or whatnot, right? That's the scene I kind of have in mind, right? Thank you, Hollywood. Holding my breath again. Shit. Stop moving. Eh, close enough. Um, but yeah, and apparently, like, the way he died, or at least based, like, on the symptoms and whatnot, from, like, people have written about him, like, yeah, he kind of suffered. Yeah, he clearly was in a lot of pain. Or at least I would assume he would have been. So yeah, because, like, yeah, he just got bedridden after some point. Um, along with the fevers and like whatever, but apparently he got exposed to something in one of his travels, or it just made things worse. Because I have played the Requiem. Um, it was fun. I'm not gonna lie, and the U choir was, oh, it was great. And one of my friends at the time in grad school, he had one of the tenor solos, and oh, it was marvelous. It was so great. You know what? Let's use this green one. How will this green one look? Ooh. I'm not gonna lie, it just looks really muddy in my eyes. Probably because of like, I don't know. I don't know. We're having fun here. Um, can't remember which article I read, or is it one of the textbooks that I had? Um, that um, he didn't even write the orchestra part. Now that's not with saying like did he have like the piano part, at least the notes and the chords in like in a keyboard instrument that just needed to be arranged for strings, or did not have nothing of it at all. Apparently, like the only he only got to like the second movement or like the Benedictus or something like that finished on his own, but the rest, the vocal, but I think the vocal stuff was written by actually him. Um, but yeah, for example, Lacrimosa, that that's the most one of the famous ones goes da dum, out of pitch, and it goes. I can't sing right now. Yeah, there's no way I'm gonna hit those higher notes. I don't even know that. It's not. It's a Latin text, if I remember. But I think there's also a German version of it. I wouldn't be surprised of it otherwise. Like other greats such as Beethoven and Schubert, everybody wants to know the specific ailment that put the end to these composers. Yeah, a little bit of everything contributed to their deaths, let's be honest here. Hygiene, uncontrolled communicable diseases, and the treatments of the time. Dude, fuck, they gave like lead and mercury, like, as medicine. I fucking swear. Like, like, there's a reason why people didn't live very long. So, according to a medical journal, so this is what I found really fascinating, and this one was from 1983. Based on the history of Wolfgang's symptoms, supposedly he suffered from, oh, be ready for this because this is going to be a lot. Schlein Hamnoch purpura that eventually led to kidney failure along with cerebral hemorrhage and bronchopneumonia towards the very, very end. I know, right? He passed away on December 5th of 1791 at age 35. So he was like, he almost made it to 36. His wife was granted a pension by the Emperor of Austria. Additionally, she sold his manuscripts to supplement her income, which explains how a lot of his works just randomly pop up all over Europe. And just like in this scenario with the Serenade, could Constance would have had the original manuscript? Who knows? Could have been the sister. Who knows? Did the sister have the copy of first and then gave it? Who knows? Again, I'm sure we'll figure out at some point. But yeah, that's a little brief life summary of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Um, I know this video might be quite lengthy. I feel like it's gonna be quite long. And this is the Benefit Goof Proof Pencil in 3.5. Even though like this video might look a little long, I'm hoping like no more than 30 minutes. My script that I'm actually reading of is really, really tiny to compare to the papers I've had to write in grad school. I honestly had a great time diving in and researching this. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna go with mascara for the Bad Gal. What was it? The Bad Gal Bang, the waterproof version. Um, I didn't need to look the up extra information on this, but I just wanted to, just so I could have the resources at hand, and just to make sure I wasn't solely talking out of my ass. Um, Especially on Mozart, because I know people will be coming after me. Uh, but at least I presented like in general information that's kind of like known among musicologists and how like everything, like again, like a lot of his life has already been written. Oh, I remember there was a story that um my professor at the time like told us like why to avoid Mozart, and apparently had a student and just like took forever with like, I can't remember if it was a dissertation or a master's thesis, but it got to a point where they were like freaking out. I was like, hey, you need to you need to finish this up. I get it. There's so much to talk about the fucking guy. Obviously, I didn't need to look up the extra information that I technically already knew, but having the resources to link up with my statement does feel good. Not gonna lie. I actually didn't look. As I mentioned earlier, I actually didn't know that Leopold flunked out of college. At least I learned something new. Originally, I wasn't planning Mozart to be the first in my series, but the recently performed trio made the decision for me. I keep forgetting to use this guy. It's the one by Lime Crime. It's like the little like lip primer for liquid lipsticks. It smells nice. Surprisingly for how long I've had it. I'm actually really glad on the timing of everything. You know, I feel good about it, and I just want to thank my own student actually, because she was the one who brought it up, and she was probably listening to the radio or something. And right before her lesson, her mom was like, "Hey, yeah, go ahead and share the news on what you found." And I'm like, "New Mozart music." I'm like, "Say what now? I have not heard this yet." And of course, immediately I'm just like, already like getting a little script ready and just start looking shit up. And I'm like, oh, that's a thing, that's a thing. And then boom, I went directly to the page of the Mozart Foundation. Um, just to look at the press release, right? Because apparently they're the ones who did the catalog and everything. And I'm like, I almost fell out of my chair. Not gonna lie, just on the like the shit that they decided. Um, I wonder if there's like footage of like of like their meetings. I want to know. I wish I was there. Um, I'm gonna go. Yeah, we'll go with that today. I'm not sure if this color is still available. So this is the Anastasia liquid lipstick in Ashton. It might still be available. It's like one of wasn't there? I believe it was one of like the top shades or bestsellers or some shit. The primer that so my lips have been really dry, especially since I've been sick, and I feel like it did make a difference. Doesn't feel super dry. Thoughts on who I should make the next video on? I was kind of hoping Beethoven, only because it's just Beethoven, not von Beethoven, not von Beethoven. It's just Beethoven. See how heated I get by just just that alone. Um, Mendelssohn would be really cool too. I actually love Mendelssohn. Oh, Mendelssohn's great. Um, Mendelssohn would be really cool because especially after the Nazi censorship in the 30s, I think it was in 33, 1933. Someone correct me. I think that sounds about right. When they were anyway, not gonna go. I've also been watching World War II documentaries, so that's why it's kind of fresh in my mind. Um, but yeah, any thoughts? Who I should do next? It doesn't have to be like classical music either. Um, as I'm like wearing like a Guns N' Roses shirt. Um, yeah, I can like it could be. Oh, talking about Guns N' Axel would he would cancel me. He would cancel me really hard. He would. He really would. Um, I don't know. Like, I feel like it'd be open game. I don't know who. Do I want to though? Do I want to talk about the Foo Fighters? Because after the whole thing with Dave Grohl and the baby and are we gonna talk about that? Um, I mean it's already been out there. It's like it's old news. I think it's been like over maybe close to a month now. But that'd be interesting to talk about. I don't know how I feel about Dave Grohl now. Like he was painted all be mainly because of the internet as the wholesale rock star guy, right? Like didn't he do like community service too or some shit? And like he would bring fans on stage um to yeah, like also like he played with the broken foot and all that bullshit. Then all of a sudden, aha, cheats on his wife. Aha, dumb shit, can't get a vasectomy or doesn't wear a condom. You know, he has a kid. When the kids are like, can be that kid's mom. Like they're like late teens, like almost 20 now, I believe. Anyway, why do I know? Why do I know? I'm just the itty bitty musicologist over here. um, yeah, once I publish this and everything, let me know in the comments below. Your thoughts? Are you a Mozart stan? Are you not? Do you care? Eh. Um, I did listen to it, and it definitely sounds like an early work of his. Um, I'm just curious if it was if if they why they dubbed it the Ganz Klein music or something like that. Like not really music. I forgot the German translation because felt like Einklein was written later, wasn't it? Yeah, he wrote it later. Anyway, it's cute. It's snippet. It's about like I'm gonna say it's about 11, 12 minutes long, right? And it has like six movements or so. Yeah, really quick little guy. Kind of want to play it myself, but at the same time, I might get bored. I have played some of his challenging stuff, but it's fun. It's fun. Like he knows how to entertain sometimes. He knows how to push buttons too. Feel free to follow me on my socials as they appear here.